Bhubaneswar's development growth has not been documented properly. Almost all the private residential areas are getting converted into commercial activity. Calcutta had Howrah Bridge as their iconic structure. We should have an iconic structure which the moment people see, people connect to Bhubaneswar, or whenever the people think of Bhubaneswar, think of that structure. The government decides that yes, we have to do it and we should do it or we will do it, then they can do it. A guy who starts selling vada and aloo chop at around 9 p.m. in the night. When somebody is making a cafe is not really where you sell coffee. So Bocca Cafe has created a niche for itself, and which is something which others cannot copy. If you remember, when you approach Bhubaneswar, you used to see a complete greenery and you could hardly find a house. But now it is only structures. You hardly find a tree.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Bocca Bytes. And Bocca Bytes has always taken an interesting turn in every episode. In every episode, we meet some amazing people and people who have contributed to books, work, coffee, culture, and art. And in this episode, of course, we have somebody from our very own state, Odisha. He is a successful person as an entrepreneur, as a hotelier, and of course, a mentor to many people, including me. We welcome Shri Deboo Patnaik, popularly known as Deboo Patnaik. Deboo Bhai is here. And today we are, of course, going to discuss about something very, very specific. And as we touch on something specific, we can move on to a more general topic of about Bhubaneswar, about Odisha, and of course ODIs, and of course food. Uh, Deboo Bhai recently has done a very great job of documenting Bhubaneswar in its last 75 years as a capital city. So, Bhubaneswar of our generation, of course, we have been born after Bhubaneswar completed becoming a capital city. Now it's completed 75 years, but we still know so less about Bhubaneswar. And thankfully, BBI, Bhubaneswar Completes 75 Years, is a beautiful coffee table book with photographs, and we can show you some videos in this podcast also of what we have documented about Bhubaneswar and about Deboo Bhai's work. But Deboo Bhai, will start off with a question which of course relates to the book, and you have been all over the country showing people the kind of amazing work you've done, including our Honorable President Srimati Draupadi Murmu. And I'm sure they have been inspired and you have been equally inspired when people have given you the feedback which you deserve. I'll ask a question. BBI is a unique tribute to Bhubaneswar. What inspired you to document the city's 75-year journey in the form of a coffee table book?
Thank you, Sanu. You know, there are a few interesting things about Bhubaneswar which is not known to many of even people who live in Bhubaneswar. Like when we talk about Bhubaneswar, we generally talk about a planned city, and mostly we talk about being planned together with Chandigarh.
Right, right.
Now, Bhubaneswar came at least 5 years or 7 years before Chandigarh. Bhubaneswar is independent India's first planned city,
Okay,
much before Chandigarh was thought of.
okay.
Now, yes, they had an international architect. Even we had an international architect. They had a French architect. We had a German architect. But their French architect came from France. In our case, we already had this gentleman who was working in the state of Mysore. Karnataka was then Mysore.
First while.
So he was working in state of Mysore. He was hired for Bhubaneswar. So in spite of being a new city, Bhubaneswar's development growth has not been documented properly. You don't get, other than probably getting that foundation stone laying photograph of Pandit Nehru, you generally don't get any photograph till 1960s. Mid 60s, probably you get few pictures of that AICC. AICC was a big thing those days. People of the generation would not know what is AICC. But AICC was uh, hosted in Bhubaneswar in 1964. And you get some pictures
So the making of Bhubaneswar has not been
documented. And even the progress has not been documented. So I thought, at some point of time, somebody has to do it. And during COVID time, I was sitting idle, so I thought that maybe I'll try my hand on this. And thankfully, I got connected to people who have been living in this city, not necessarily now, but they have lived in the city in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and also captured photos. Cameras were difficult to get those days, unlike today. So I had to source those images from them, and fortunately, we could manage a few pictures, good pictures.
I think there's amazing diversity in the kind of photographs you have taken that takes the essence of Bhubaneswar not only as a city but as a habitat itself. So I think kudos to you, and this could be a great inspiration for a lot of other people, creators, influencers, because doing something on a social media platform and putting it on print and such a beautiful format is a different thing altogether. That
Quite
needs
expensive.
time, and yes, obviously. Uh, so you have observed Bhubaneswar closely since the 1960s. You've been born, brought up here. In fact, I can courageously say that you have also made a big difference to Bhubaneswar itself. Uh, which change in the city's evolution has touched you the most, positively or emotionally?
One change that if you ask the old timers of Bhubaneswar, what is that you are missing today? They would talk about the breeze that they used to have in the afternoons of Bhubaneswar. But we might touch that in detail subsequently. But this much I can tell you is that that breeze was something which was out of this world. And unfortunately, we have allowed to move those little, that greenery that we had around Bhubaneswar is no more there. So we are not getting that south breeze that we used to get. So that is one thing that I am missing, and all the old timers will miss in Bhubaneswar.
Absolutely. Though I have been traveling to Bhubaneswar from Cuttack. I've been born, brought up in Cuttack, so I'm a typical Cuttack person.
But let me correct you that I am born in Cuttack.
Oh, I'm sorry for the fact. For the fact. Coming to that, a lot of people have been born in different places of the state, but they have all converged in Bhubaneswar and made it its home. So that's a different story altogether. People who don't know much about where they came from, but they have taken up Bhubaneswar as their own home city. Bhubaneswar has been highlighted as a smart city. I think in 2016 it was adjudged as one of the top ranked smart cities, as in potential. But do you feel it has lacked the long-term planning in some areas since it was declared a smart city?
Yes, absolutely. What has happened is Bhubaneswar had an initial, as I told you, the architect Otto Koensberger, he had a plan for Bhubaneswar, but that was limited to 20,000 people only, because it was to be the administrative capital of Odisha, whereas the commercial capital will continue in Cuttack. That was a very clear understanding. Even that is the reason why they had decided that the High Court would continue in Cuttack. But this 20,000 population city is now 20 lakh population. 2 million is the population even today.
Yeah.
Now, have we planned for this kind of growth? No. After 1960, when the initial capital was completed, after that there has not been major
Infrastructure.
long-term planning for Bhubaneswar. See, that is the unfortunate part, that nobody is planning for Bhubaneswar. Everybody is, somebody comes and decides, whoever is the decision maker, maybe the head of the state or maybe the chief secretary or whoever it is, based on his perception, developments are happening. Or the chief architect says something, accordingly this thing happens. I know of, I complain of municipal corporation. The commissioner of municipal corporation, whoever he is or she is, takes a decision for this city without taking the comprehensive growth plan,
Right.
which is lacking.
Agreed.
And you can't do it with an IS officer. You need a planner. City planner is required to create that facility.
So, do you think citizen, initiatives are also required in making it a part of the plan, because we all live here, work here. So, other than people who take decisions, it should be also entrepreneurs and everybody else who should be part of this. That may be difficult, but that can be something which can be thought of.
Unfortunately, Bhubaneswar doesn't have a civil society.
Right. That's something. Really
Civil society is something who should actively participate in this.
In fact, Bangalore, with all
Bangalore
its
is doing-
issue, they are very
Yes.
progressively working on that.
Yes. Forget about Bangalore, you talk of Cuttack.
Yes. Yes.
Even today, Cuttack being an old city, the civil society is so active.
Exactly.
And they respond, if there is a change, they respond immediately. I remember the issue of that aircraft, Deboo Patnaik's aircraft being placed at Anand Bhavan, and the civil society immediately responded, which is not happening here.
The sort of ownership is not happening. And
Ownership is not happening for the citizens, and also ownership is not happening as far as the administration is concerned. A city like Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad municipal commissioner controls everything in Ahmedabad. Everything in Ahmedabad other than the police. Because for police they have a police commissioner. Now in Bhubaneswar there is no ownership. The BMC commissioner has some rights. The BDA has some other rights. The smart city organization, they have some other thoughts. And the state government has different ideas.
So I think more conversations like this need to happen, because this is the capital city, and in 2036, when Odisha becomes 100 years, we need to have a huge change in Bhubaneswar itself. Of course, we want the whole of Odisha to progress. Bhubaneswar has had its own progress with whatever ups and downs. How would you see, from now, we have got almost 10 years or more, reaching 100 years of Odisha, Bhubaneswar as a city, as the capital city?
Bhubaneswar would probably in 10 years' time, my perception is it should double its population, and there would be slums everywhere.
Okay.
You see, migration is an integral part of development. No doubt about
And
it.
growth of
All
urban
Yes.
cities.
But are we taking care of that? Are we planning for that? No. Unfortunately, we are not doing that.
And I think we should learn from the other cities which have grown and are suffering,
Yes.
like a Bangalore or a Mumbai or whatever, because we still have a chance
Yes.
for sustainable growth.
Absolutely.
We are already feeling it. So I think because the core of Bhubaneswar is growing in a different kind of way, and there's peripheral Bhubaneswar which is growing. So there should be a citizen initiative and I think administrative integration into the citizen initiative. Uh, Traffic management. We never knew that there was an issue with traffic, but of course, traffic. A lot of people who come from outside, they think Bhubaneswar is pretty good, as in people wear helmets. They don't have too much of issues as such, traffic lights and stuff like that. But what about the congestion in traffic? That, with whatever infrastructural issues we are having and the very fast growing population, uh, what's your perspective? How should it be addressed?
See, traffic has been a big challenge and slowly becoming a major challenge for the city. Now, from Golf Club to Jadabiyar was taking possibly 10 to 12 minutes 10 years back. And 15 years back, possibly it was taking 7, 8 minutes. Today it takes around 45 minutes in the peak hours.
Right.
Cuttack to Bhubaneswar was, I would not say that I have done it in 13, 14 minutes way back in a bike, but today it is more than 1 hour.
Yes.
So what is happening is Bhubaneswar is growing. Incidentally, I'll tell you a small incident. Way back 7, 8 years back, the mayor of Bhubaneswar told me that, sir, हम लोगों का number of vehicle registration has gone up beyond the population size. Like
Everybody is
our
having multiple
2011 population is only 9 lakh something. By 2013-14, we had registered more than 10 lakh vehicles. So growth of vehicles and bikes, two-wheelers, four-wheelers, everything.
that has to be addressed from now itself, like they do it in Singapore and other cities. And
Yes, that's one. And second is the planning goes wrong. I'll give you a small example. We have this Janpat. We are sitting on Janpat. Now, this is probably world's only road which has been, in the process of making it a smart city, we have reduced the width of the road, whereas it should have been widened.
Right.
And on top of that, we have this massive BMC building coming up. Where is the traffic that is going into it or coming out of it? They are getting into the Janpat.
Absolutely.
Are we planning for that? No. We are happy to see that multi-stored structure, but we don't know that what kind of problems we are generating because of that.
I mean, the kind of pride we have about Bhubaneswar till now, about the greenery, about less number of high rises, people coming from the bigger cities, we don't have to see those big buildings. That will happen in other parts of Bhubaneswar, but I think they need to plan also that should not converge into the core of the city.
Yes.
Otherwise, the whole idea of Bhubaneswar is going to change.
Absolutely.
Encroachment and arbitrary construction are changing the city's face, like we were discussing. Do you think Bhubaneswar has the risk of losing its original charm as a planned capital?
It is losing. I'll tell you another example. See, Bhubaneswar had, we are sitting in Unit 3, Kharwal Nagar. Now, Kharwal Nagar had government residential quarters. It has got private residential quarters. It has also some commercial construction, commercial allotments.
So it was assigned that way.
It was assigned that way, that part will be commercial, part will be residential, part will be government quarters. Now, what has happened is almost all the private residential areas are getting converted into commercial activity. So nobody is there to stop that, regulate that. It's not happening. And it's very easy to go to the state because that generates revenue for the state. State is also not looking at the comforts or the basic planning of the city.
That's right, because we have been seeing this happening. I mean,
and it will not be far off when you see multi-storied everywhere. this city was planned horizontally. Now we are going
vertically and also horizontally.
and horizontally.
So we are growing all over, and we'll, so that they,
In fact, if you remember, the original plan didn't have double-storied structures. There were no, I think, first floor was allowed in certain areas. Beyond that, there was no other floors, excepting the administrative buildings. Nothing. None of the residential area had more than 2 floors, ground plus 1. But today, we are competing to 35 floors, 38 floors, maybe 70 floors. Who knows?
and it's happening in all places. I think that the roads may not be widened very soon. The buildings may come up faster.
Yes.
The city is called the new temple city, but do you think we are overemphasizing on certain iconic structures like the Mukteshwar temple? It's good we are talking about Bhubaneswar, the temple city, but sometimes this whole idea of Bhubaneswar only focusing on temples, and I think Bhubaneswar has much more diversity. What is your take on this? Of course, in your book you have taken up a lot of heritage, and obviously you would.
No, this question has two answers. First is the temple city. The old town was the temple city.
Right.
We had all the temples there. But today, if you look at it, the new Bhubaneswar has probably more number of temples than the old town. Why do you allow these kind of structures to come in? You find one fine morning somebody comes and puts a tilak on the one tree and starts praying there or doing some kind of puja. And in 6 months' time, you see a small temple coming up. Then you find every evening there are Tinnath Melas happening there. And that is how you find temples coming up. And all of them are, most of them, let me not say all, most of them are unauthorized constructions, encroachment.
And the real heritage and temples of, they lose their original sanctity because the temples are all.
Now, if you want to have a temple in a locality, you have just one temple. You have a Bapuji Nagar, you have just one temple. You have a forest park, you have just one temple. If you want to have, look at the convenience of the residents.
Yes.
Now, if you do that, we are a secular country. So then other religions would also like to have their own place of worship, which we cannot allow, and we should not. This is as far as your question of temple part goes.
Absolutely. I mean, the temple city, the city is growing, the temples are also growing. But the other part which I was asking, that when we create awareness about Bhubaneswar as a tourism destination, I think it's growing in many ways. The positive part of it, like we have great places to eat, great places to stay, visit. Do you think the tourism department or the administration should also talk about the other aspects of Bhubaneswar?
It should, and we should create facilities for that. You know, we have a cow gully next to that St. Joseph's College school. Now, this cow gully is every evening there would be people coming and there would be stalls happening and all those things are okay. But assign a proper place for that. Why should you encroach on a road and do it?
Agreed.
That planning is lacking. The municipal corporation should take care of that, which is not happening. Or the development authority should look into it.
I mean, people should be happy that these things are organically growing. There is a supply, there is
Market.
There's a consumption, there's a market. But it's happening before the administration has thought of it. And they should, it's time they think about it, and that this is a good thing to happen, because everybody, when they go to a city, they look for street food. But assigned place and a place where there's hygiene, sanitation, and doesn't disrupt traffic is very, very important.
And when you are going to a city, any city internationally, you have 10 different points to visit. How many of them are there or how many of them we have created in Bhubaneswar.
Agreed.
In, as per the original plan of Bhubaneswar, there was a Gandhi memorial. Gandhi was assassinated in January 1948. India got independence in 1947. And Bhubaneswar Foundation Stone was laid in April 1948. So Gandhi was a big, big thing those days. People today probably confuse, that's a different thing. But we had planned for a Gandhi memorial. That never happened. That Gandhi memorial would have been an iconic structure for Bhubaneswar. Bhubaneswar doesn't have an iconic structure.
Absolutely. That's what I wonder. We have
What
had happened 1,000 years, 2,000 years back.
we are
still
sitting with
have
that?
it, but we have not created anything of
Nothing.
I mean,
Which
people
we
can
could
watch.
have done.
Absolutely.
Which we could have done. We were losing that opportunity. We should have an iconic structure, which the moment people see, people connect to Bhubaneswar, or whenever the people think of Bhubaneswar, think of that structure. Today, when you think of Eiffel Tower, you think of Paris, or vice versa. That kind of iconic structure Bhubaneswar requires.
If you look at it, if people want to take a selfie, there is hardly anything other than I love Bhubaneswar in different
Yes.
places. So people are taking selfies. So
Yes.
you need to have modern and different kind of structures or places where you can actually
Absolutely.
take back memories of the city.
Now we have, Bhubaneswar has been promoting the Mukteshwar gate as Bhubaneswar's symbol. Now what is the facility that we have created around Mumbai? That is what is lacking.
I think there has to be a mix of thinking, I mean, by people who have been in Bhubaneswar, and we should talk with people who have been part of this change of cities in different parts of the world, because I think a lot of cities have faced these issues and are still facing it. So it's not that we are literally going to stay inside a well and think about what's going to change around us. That conversation has, because people look up to Bhubaneswar now in various parts of the country and the world. But if we stay and work here, we have a different dimension. We are a little worried as citizens of the state. So when you're talking about iconic structure, you're coming to it. In your perception, and you're very creative. So what kind of iconic structure do you feel Bhubaneswar needs today to truly stand out as a modern global city? Something your thought, or it could be 2-3 structures.
No, it could be 2-3 structures, but one that immediately comes to my mind, basically because we have hosted this World Cup, Hockey World Cup twice, and we have created, Odisha has created a niche for itself on this matter, on the sports sector. We can always think of maybe a huge hockey stick or something, a memorial for Dhyan Chand or something.
Yes.
Or maybe why Dhyan Chand? Why not our own Dilip Tirke also?
Yes, and all the hockey greats across.
Yeah,
the
hockey
country.
greats, they can stand. I remember a picture that was taken during World Cup, which is there in my book, of all the World Cup team captains standing at Mukteshwar. That was a fabulous picture. But we can create something similar. And when we are talking of, you earlier asked me about 2036. When 2036 India is trying to
Get the
bid
Olympics.
for Olympics in Ahmedabad cannot manage the whole Olympics. They would look at 2-3 other destinations.
And Bhubaneswar should be
And
one.
Bhubaneswar should be a major contender.
Absolutely.
And we need to work for that now. You can't start work in 2030 and host an Olympic in 2036.
Yes.
You will miss the bus.
Yes.
So somebody has to do it now. Now, matlab now at 5 o'clock on 30th of August.
Yes, absolutely. That's the amazing take which you have taken, taking hockey, because hockey already is something which is like a brand for Odisha, and Odisha has done a lot for hockey. Hockey has contributed a lot for Odisha. So these are some of the perspectives we can take from different people, how to build the iconic visibility for Bhubaneswar, because we have a lot of heritage, but something which talks about progress. Because I think progress will happen, it has to happen
I'll tell
sustainably.
you a small example. I'll tell you. Look at Calcutta. Calcutta had Howrah Bridge as their iconic structure. But they have built the other bridge and now it has shifted. Now, Bombay, all through, had Gateway of India as its iconic structure. Today, it is the sea link.
Ceiling, right?
So, cities are planning, brains are working on it. You can't just lie idle and think that, oh, you kar dunga, ho jayega.
One is visibility, also the experience, because the ceiling itself is an experience.
Yes.
Like it was, I think the new bridge is Vidyasagar bridge. That also is an amazing experience on going on the bridge. Coming, since your book is also mentioned as BBI, which goes with the airport, the airport expansion and proposed metro project, which everybody is talking about. I don't know when it's going to happen, whether we're going to sit in a metro or see the new airport, are big infrastructural changes. How do you think that will shape Bhubaneswar's next phase of growth? We need expansion in every space, but is it going to change something dramatically?
See, as far as the airport is concerned, we need an airport. And doing an airport is not an easy thing. It will not happen overnight. But what we could have done and have not been able to do it till date is, I'll go a little technical into it.
Right.
Airport has somewhere around 9,000 feet, the runway. For a wide-bodied aircraft to land, the international aircraft to land, you need around another possibly 1,000 feet. Now, this is the shortcoming that this is the land that is required, or this is the space that is required to extend the runway by 1,000 feet to make the international flights to land, the wide-bodied aircraft to land. And for that, we need 40,
Space.
I think we need around, around 64 or 70 acres, out of which 47 or 50 acres of OUT land, which is ready, available. Another 16, 17 acres of land, government has to acquire. Now, this government, whoever it is, I am not blaming the present government or the previous government. Government has to take that call, which is not happening. Now, in place of that, you are thinking of an airport in Puri. Fine, you have an airport in Puri, you have an airport everywhere. We have no issues. What is wrong in acquiring this 17 acres and extending the runway, which can happen in just 2 years?
And one thing we always take pride in, but now that's become a challenge because of the kind of airport and the space we have. We always tell people that Bhubaneswar has an airport inside the city. And we, like for Master Canteen, if there's less traffic, it takes around 5 minutes only, maybe, or 10 minutes.
10 minutes you are in the airport.
Where in the world would you find that kind of?
Yes.
So if we leverage on that, it makes a big difference instead of
Yes.
thinking of something very literally outlandish and work on it. So I share your thought on this.
Just 17 acres. You are in, for a mine or for industry or for a steel plant or a power plant, you are acquiring hundreds of acres. We are asking for 17 acres to be acquired for this extension of the airport. That is all, which is not happening. Because there is no political will for that. The government decides that yes, we have to do it and we should do it or we will do it, then they can do it.
Agreed.
But metro is something which is No, it will not be financially viable for Bhubaneswar unless government decides to pump in 3,000-4,000 crores every year. That is not, at this stage, not viable.
In fact, better roads and more roads will make a bigger difference.
What Bhubaneswar requires today is an elevated highway. Elevated highway parallel running with the present roads. That is badly required.
So waste management is obviously a urban problem which happens in every city, and some cities manage it very well and some cities are learning to manage, like Bhubaneswar. Bhubaneswar never thought
They will have so much of waste.
so much of waste, so more people, more waste, and more commercial spaces, and that's happening. What changes would you like to see, since you are from the hotel industry and you know the hotel industry has its own issues of managing waste and they have their own internal ways of doing it, and sometimes they depend on the administration also. What changes would you like to see in how Bhubaneswar handles its waste?
Bhubaneswar, little that I know, I may be wrong, but little that I know, Bhubaneswar's waste management is not of proper, doesn't have the proper technology, and the facility has not been created till date. And we find within the city, dump yards. A major concern is that near that Sainik school area, it's a major concern. Similarly, you are developing a new dump yard next to that Nico Park area. That is on this main road, city's major road. You can't do that.
And
So that process,
Nico Park has been one of our iconic for new
so-called
Bhubaneswar.
iconic, got spoiled.
Nobody looked after it.
Nobody looked after it. And that was originally planned to be a water body. Incidentally, a city like Bhubaneswar, as it is expanding, needs a large water body. Needs a city forest and a large water body. Such a small city like New York has 800 acres of Central Park. They don't touch it because they know that is their oxygen.
Delhi, in spite of all its issues, still has its
Parks.
So I think we should not lose what we have already set out to do, and we forget those are the important parts of water bodies. We have discussed about, in fact, my city links about these heritage water bodies which need to be, more hygienic, and they have to be preserved. Globally, cities are looking at carbon credits and sustainable practices. Where do you see Bhubaneswar in this conversation? This is futuristic, but I think the future has already arrived.
Yeah, and we need to, if you look at our carbon footprints, then we are in bad shape. We are not really doing what we should be doing.
And we are not also auditing.
And neither we are auditing nor we are thinking about it. Forget about auditing. And I mentioned about this city forest. City forest is something which will save us from this. But again, there has been an attempt. There's already Bhubaneswar Development Authority has a city forest in that Anand Ban. But similar thing have to be created all around Bhubaneswar, which is not happening. We are moving, we are, cutting trees left, right, center, but there is hardly any plantation. If you remember, you have been traveling so often. If you remember, when you approach Bhubaneswar, you used to see a complete greenery and you could hardly find a house. But now, it is only structures. You hardly find a tree.
When you reached Bhubaneswar, you won't know you reached Bhubaneswar because it started from so far off with all the peripheral infrastructure. Agreed. And these discussions should be taken up forward with the next generation, of course. Now, coming back to something which is obviously your interest, and you've been part of this scenario as a professional, as an entrepreneur, and we discussed about street food also. food is such an important part of culture. I'm sure for Bhubaneswar, you would write another book for food with the old Bhubaneswar and new Bhubaneswar. In your view, how has Bhubaneswar's food scene evolved along with the city? I'll give you credit, and every lot of people will give you credit for the Dalama revolution which you created.
No, but Bhubaneswar food-wise has seen a sea change. In fact, I remember probably the first standalone restaurant came up in 1980. And people didn't have this habit of eating out. So most of the restaurants were restricted to these, the star hotels. Even old time's sake, if you look at it, the top restaurant was Rajmahal because it was attached to a hotel. Puspak, it was attached to a hotel. So, and then came the eateries like the South Indian joints and all. But we started seeing uh, different cuisines coming in, different types of restaurants coming in. This all happened, I would say, to be after 2010. But 2010 to 2015, 2025, in this 15 years, we have probably added 1,000 restaurants to Bhubaneswar.
Absolutely, absolutely. They are all
And
over,
all kinds.
and a lot of people going to the restaurants and
Yes.
pubs and all the places where you have cafes.
And I never thought that there would be a pub in Bhubaneswar. At least our college days, we never thought that there would be a pub in Bhubaneswar. But we have probably 50 pubs in Bhubaneswar. We have microbreweries in Bhubaneswar. So, doing good.
That's something which is positively happening, and I think that will also grow. But we also need to do that in a way that goes with the ecosystem of the
ecosystem, and we should. I was asked by somebody else on this that how come we see so many cafes happening, so many restaurants opening. I said, yeah, but simultaneously see how many of them are closing. So Bocca Cafe has created a niche for itself, and which is something which others cannot copy. Now you have added a library to it or a bookshop to it. So, but when somebody is making a cafe is not really where you sell coffee. Cafe is a place where people meet, and I think barring 10-15 cafes in the city, all rest are Me Too cafes.
It's fashionable to start.
Fashionable to start a cafe. Fashionable to do a bakery, and sell some croissants. But that's it. Beyond that, nothing happens. And which is why they are not getting their proper clientele. And closing in 6 months' time or 1 year time.
Now, coming to cafes, pubs, of course, you are a great enthusiast, obviously, so for pushing Odia cuisine and connecting Odia cuisine with a larger audience beyond Odias. But you have a dream, and I think lots of people will come together that more of global cuisine should come to Bhubaneswar and people should know more about it. So what are your plans and what are your ideas for that?
There's a few things. There's a very delicate and loaded question, which I'll not answer.
Okay, that's for the next episode of Bocca Bytes, when we talk about global food coming.
We come back to you after 6 months and talk about this.
Absolutely. What message? You're always talking about the next generation Z, X, whatever. People have to read the book, and I think we have a video about Bhubaneswar and the book itself. The younger generation, which still is not very sure about they being in Bhubaneswar and what is Bhubaneswar all about. They're just seeing things happening around them. What is your message to people who want to stay here, work here, even study here? That how do they take Bhubaneswar ahead, even as citizens?
See, as far as this particular generation that you are talking about,
Because I think there's an identity problem with Bhubaneswar. I mean, that owning up. Some people have it, but they leave the city for whatever reason. People who are here for a long time have made it Bhubaneswar's home, still don't feel. So I think there is a problem
no,
with the older cities like Cuttack or Barampur or Puri. They still have a feeling because of generations have stayed. I think you are one of the few people who have been there for so long, and you have friends all over. But there's this new generation, so they don't connect so much.
see, they will take some time to connect. What is happening in the new generation is they are they are probably first generation or second generation. But when you are comparing it with Cuttack, probably it is 10 generations living in Cuttack. So allow Bhubaneswar some more time. Bhubaneswar will also become a city like Cuttack where people will crave to come back to Bhubaneswar or crave to live in Bhubaneswar. But as far as the younger generation is concerned, let me tell you the comfort of living in Bhubaneswar, you will never get in bigger cities.
Absolutely.
You go and live in bigger cities, then only you will see the craving to come back to your own comfort.
I know a lot of my friends and family relatives who have been staying abroad. They all, of course, there are issues of what they want to do as if they are professional, but they always think of, wow, Bhubaneswar is so good. I mean, we can all come back and retire here or do something here. So I
No,
think that that novelty in a way is always there.
yes, always there. And people who are living in Bhubaneswar or have decided to live in Bhubaneswar, they would enjoy Bhubaneswar more as they grow. As the age,
They'll appreciate a lot of things.
appreciate a lot of things which probably, uh, they don't realize at this age. Possibly I was not as excited about Bhubaneswar in my college days as I am today. But I have lived 50 years here.
So we'll have a rapid fire round, which should not be too tough for you because you've taken a lot of tough decisions in life. So this will be much easier. So your first question: Old Bhubaneswar or New Bhubaneswar?
New Bhubaneswar.
New Bhubaneswar. We won't go into state confectionery. We'll just talk about our own. Rasagola or Chenapoda?
Chenapoda.
Chenapoda. You're very, very clear about that. A city landmark you personally connect with most?
Difficult to address. I would think Bani Vihar.
Mani Vihar. One Odia dish you can eat every day without getting bored. I know you love samosas and singadas, but that is not exactly Odia always.
Politically correct answer would be dalma,
Right.
but in reality it will be santuda.
Santoda. Right, absolutely. Healthy also. Dalma may, everyday dalma may not work. Uh, we discussed about it. So, airport expansion or metro, which excites you more?
Airport extension.
Yes, absolutely.
It is badly required for the city.
So I think you explored the Bhubaneswar food scene quite well, and you've done a lot for the Bhubaneswar food scene. But something which you would want to share with our audience, some special place, maybe a hidden spot where you've gone maybe a few years before, it's still around, and you would want to share with our audience.
Now, I'll share two hidden spots, in my perception. One is a guy who starts selling vada and aloo chop at around 9 p.m. in the night. He opens his shop at 9 p.m. and continues till midnight. That happens in a place called, in that Stuart School area, there is a Jaleswar temple, and bang opposite that, this man comes every evening at 9 o'clock, sells you this size baras and this size aloo chops, and with that guguni. So at times I go there, have my dinner, bara guguni dinner. That is one.
This size you have to eat a lot.
Yes,
for
I
dinner.
do. I do it. I eat at least 20, 30 of them. And there's another person who sells, who again comes very late on the Janpath, uh, within the uh, within the Bapuji Nagar area. He comes late in the evening again. He sells chenna poda. This chenna poda is again not sugar chenna poda, the jaggery chenna poda. Out of the world.
Thank you so
And
much.
people wait, like Raghu, people wait, he used to wait for Raghu's bara. In this case, people wait for this man to come.
See, this amazing Bocca Bite literally we got from this episode of Bocca Bytes is you get good aloo chop and
Bara.
bora
With guguni.
with guguni after 9 p.m. somewhere near Stuart School. You have to find out these hidden spots, and of course, somewhere near Bapuji Nagar where you get chenna podo, which is made out of jaggery guda. So this can only come from the person who has been living in Bhubaneswar for so long and knows all the top places to eat and also places where you can get stuff after late night street
Late
food.
night.
Uh, one advice, again, this we come back to something very, very serious. One advice you would want to give to the city planners of Bhubaneswar. This is a question which we want to leave Bocca Bytes episode with, for food for thought for everybody.
The only question this I should have, it should have been part of my answer in your encroachment question or traffic question. See, allow the traffic to move on the roads by stopping the roadside encroachment by small time shopkeepers. You know what they are, the vendors, what they are doing, these street vendors, they are encroaching on the road. And on top of that, there are people standing there and buying.
So that takes a lot of space.
That is taking a lot of space, and in the process, the traffic gets affected. So my only request, I would say, to the municipal authority is, you assign them different places for vending, but move them away from the roadside.
So that is something which can happen immediately. We are talking
can
about
happen immediately.
infrastructure, long-term things which can work for Bhubaneswar, but something encroachments on the road itself is something very dangerous, and it also disturbs everything which happens in the city. So this episode of Bocca Bytes, I think we touched on very, very interesting things because it comes from a person with experience, and of course with a he has a touch for cuisine and creativity. But we spoke about a lot of serious stuff because if you want to make this city as beautiful as it is and to stay like that in the future, we really have to work on it as citizens or in terms of media or as administration. So thank you so much, Deboo Bhai, Mr.
Thank you for inviting me.
Patnaik. We have had a lot of conversations, but this was different, and I'm sure we can take things forward from here because we'll get a lot of feedback from our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.